Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 116th episode of the Manor Podcast. I'm your co-host, Roger Bodee, joined as always with my best friend and other co-host, Michael Hamilton. Michael, I think it's time. I think sometimes you gotta do what's right. You gotta look in the mirror, look yourself in the eyes, and say, it's time to dedicate myself to Flesh and Blood again. Do you think you're ready to make that commitment? Do you think you're ready?
Dude, I don't need to dedicate myself to anything if I don't want to. I don't know. I will do the things that make me happy. And currently I've been having a lot of fun playing Flesh and Blood. I think the game's in a good spot. But when the game's not in a good spot, I'm not going to force myself to play it when,
Yeah, that's the whole reason why we branched out, is because sometimes, people make mistakes. It's hard designing card games. Yep. Not everything's always perfect all the time. I can't think of, well, let alone a card game, but just anything in the entire history of the world that's just been good all the time. So when it's bad and when the mistakes have happened, then it's time to play some games that have less mistakes. And then when the mistakes are fixed, you come back,
I feel like this is like the whole subject of our last episode. Why do you bring it up?
Or a return episode when we came back in January last year, why we started branching out in the first place. Yeah, because there was a 5th anniversary stream, so we're going to celebrate with them as well. But it was somebody asked James White who the best Flesh and Blood player in the world was, and he said Pablo Pintor. Not close. Michael Hamilton, you need to rededicate yourself to Flesh and Blood. You are a scrub. You got second. Pablo still gets first place at the callings, and
second and first isn't that far.
You're washed, I think was his exact quote, if I'm remembering it correctly.
Seems like he has a lot to say about me. But no, I do think that Pablo has a pretty strong case for being the best player in Flesh and Blood. I think I also have a strong case. I think it is kind of close, but I do think Pablo is very, very good.
Yeah, I think Pablo needs to come down to some U.S. Nats. Next Nat season, we got to arrange, because you don't have to play in your own Nats, right? Like if you qualify for Nats, you can play in any Nats.
I do think you have to live there to play in the Nats. Like when people travel to the U.S. Nats, they're here to just play in the calling usually, not the Nationals.
Oh, how did Tarek play in our Nats?
He's got like weird residency thing where sometimes he's living in the U.S., sometimes he's living in Canada because of school.
But where is he domiciled for subject matter jurisdiction?
That's a Tarek question. You should have asked him when we had him on the podcast 2 months ago or whatever.
We just were covering subject matter jurisdiction and domicile for.
But yeah, you do have to be living in the area to play in the Nats. And
let's move him to the United States. Let's get him over here for a little while, for just a year, just 1 year, the temporary residency, a visa. We'll get him over here because I need to see how he does in the U.S. Nationals, because once he wins and top eights multiple, I guess we had to do it for multiple years, because like that's been the real thing that I feel like gets glossed over on your resume because Nationals are so weird. But like U.S. Nationals are like a mini Pro Tour. It's just a U.S. Pro Tour, but I don't know.
Yeah, I do think U.S. Nationals are like very similar.
We get the extra prizing for a reason,
Yeah, I guess. I kind of like equivalent them to a calling, but
okay, fair enough. Calling, Pro Tour, somewhere in between.
Yeah,
but yeah, so what they all have in common, you and Pablo and me and James White and everybody who plays Flesh and Blood, is we all get to play Flesh and Blood.
Yeah, and the game's great. There's some exciting stuff coming up. Looking forward to a new Earth Ice Guardian.
Yeah, so there were a bunch of tweets going around for like engage with Flesh and Blood and tweet, and I was like, I'm not gonna tweet this. We're gonna answer these questions on the podcast because that's how we engage most positively in the community. So I believe
hit me with the questions.
I'm finding them. I believe the first question is, who's your favorite hero? That's the easy one. That's the one I remember off the top of my head for sure. Just of all time, any favorite hero?
Probably Icelander. She's pretty cool. She when you get a do what I did with Icelander, I feel like it's hard for her not to be my favorite hero. I did get tired of playing her after a while, but
She also,
she is
it's
the
also not
fondest in my
fun
memories.
to start with a higher power level of your favorite hero and then have them nerf your hero to a lower power level to make them a shell of what they were. And that's kind of what Icelander had to go through.
Yeah, I was really surprised when she like when we put her back when we did the tier list and we put her in C tier and it was like a meme after they banned Amulet of Ice and Hypothermia. I really didn't think Icelander was very good, and I still think her results were better than I really thought she was. Still, like I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
think it's common at ProQuests in general, right? Where at the end of the day, tier lists are all good and well, and they're all kind of assuming players of equal skill. And higher skill players are just going to still win more games of Flesh and Blood more often. And that's why you can see, like, let me pull up the most recent ProQuest metagames, like Acilio won 2 ProQuests, the Riptide won a ProQuest. Max, 2 people in the world won ProQuest with Max the High
Hey,
Nitro.
I
Like,
put Max in C tier for a reason. He's fine.
uh, let's see here. Kano, somebody won with Phi out there in the world.
Yep. Also put Fi in C tier. Zen I put in the bottom. I'm
Yeah.
surprised Zen's been winning.
I'm just saying though, like, for as much as like we could rank these heroes in like various tiers or like whatever, like it's still people of higher skill can still win ProQuest and like those kinds of events with them. And I think that rang true for like Rhea Adams was like really good at playing Icelander and was just able to like skill gap a bunch of people, even if the Lexi matchup wasn't like good. If she's just skill gapping people, like she's still gonna win more games of Flesh and Blood.
Yeah, that's fair. Was Lexi still around at that time?
Yeah, remember?
My
Because we kept saying like how like that was the whole reason why I didn't go back to Icelander is because I knew the Lexi matchup and like our internal testing was like horrendous. It was so bad.
yeah.
And people were like, no, it's not that bad. And I was like, okay. Uh I would rather play Bolton, like this horrible fatigue guardian style Bolton, than play Icelander into Lexi because that's how bad I felt Lexi and Icelander was. But that's a lot. That's in the past. That was in the past. Overall, you love Icelander. I'm glad you loved Icelander.
Yeah. She's real cool. I think I really love drafting her. Drafting her was so much fun.
Yeah, you couldn't
And
stop drafting her.
I could not. And she was cool and class constructed. I really liked changing the deck. But once they banned Amulet Device, she was a lot less fun in CC
Yeah.
for me. What about you? What's your favorite hero of all time?
Thanks for asking. I think a lot of people are going to expect me to say Sir Bolton right
I did
now.
expect you to say Sir Bolton.
Yeah.
I am part of a lot of people.
Yeah. The real answer right now is new. New is I think so. As a card game player in aggregate, I'm sure you are well aware at this point, but I gravitate more so towards controlling type strategies like long, grindy, card advantagey kind of style things. Like I was like my Discord handle and like my first Twitter handle and like my username and still a bunch of like games, or my original Talishar handle was like Azor, Azorius Raj, Azorius, like if that's ever available. Like that's kind of the things I pick up because blue white control was always my favorite archetype in Magic the Gathering. I like counter spells, I like board wipes, I like drawing cards, I like the game plan a lot. And new, I think, is the most elegant embodiment of a true control deck after Icelander, but does it in a way where instead of like having to play with like specific timing interactions that is like the wizard class on your opponent's turn, you have to play on the specific timing interactions of attack reactions. And that leads to a lot of situations where you can bluff. And I don't know if you know anything about me either, but I really like bluffing in card games too. And so when you put like a control bluff hero together, like what more could I possibly ask for in type an archetype of a hero? It's why like I'm so interested and focused on like playing new at Worlds. Like I think she's actually like the most optimal choice to be playing at Worlds? Probably not. I think she's fine. I'm working hard on some like innovations at the moment, but I just really vibe with her. And like, if I felt the same way about Bolton still, like I would just do the same with Bolton. Like I think there are probably some crazy weird builds of Bolton that could probably be somewhat okay in this metagame overall, but I'm not really interested in Bolton's more aggro and like combo style game plan at the moment.
Mhm.
I just really want to grind and play attack reactions. I really like attack reactions in Flesh and Blood. I think that's like my favorite card type in Flesh and Blood is like attack reactions. I really like Dorinthia. I like that about the Warriors. Like my favorite card in Bolton probably isn't even Lumina Ascension. Well, it's Lumina Ascension once you can turn it into an attack reaction
Or Spirit.
with Spirit in play. That's when Lumina Ascension is my favorite card. But I really like Beacon. Beacon's like a card that I think I use in like really interesting ways in a lot of different like situations where you could attack with a command and conquer and then just like beacon it over for one and get people sometimes. They're like, you can do that. And I'm like, yeah, you can target anything with this at any time. And like, yeah, I like attack reactions.
Yeah, makes sense. I don't know what my favorite card type is.
Yeah. Well, thankfully you don't need a favorite card type. But the second question is your favorite individual card. What's your favorite individual card in Flesh and Blood? Do you have one?
Yeah, I do. It's Finals Fighting Spirit. This is the when I first saw this card limited, I'm like, this card looks pretty good. And then I played it, I'm like, this card is so good. And then I put it in my constructed deck, I'm like, this card's so good and constructed.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when it first came out, everyone's like, ooh, an upgrade to yellow Raging Onslaught as my popper. And it's like, no, 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 no. This is a 2-card 8 that blocks well. And I think putting it, I feel like this is kind of a boring answer. It's kind of like predictable, I guess, but putting it in Icelander and kind of like
I was
building.
expecting you to say that or Wounded Bull, one of those two. Just
Wounded Bull is just bad finals.
Yeah, the 3 for 8s.
Yeah, but finals like unlocked Icelander in a way that made her feel powerful to me, because before I found Scar 2, but finals is the card that I wasn't seeing any constructed play really, in red at least before Scar. So finals stands out to me more than Scar. But without those two cards, I don't think I I never would have really enjoyed Icelander, because like you're kind of like disrupting your opponent. But if you're going below rate with your attacks, like you're playing Red Ice Bowl or Red Aether Hail plus Waning Moon or something, just like it felt really bad to me. And then when I just threw in these physical attacks that were above rate, or yeah, just above rate, it made me feel like the deck was really, really powerful, and everything changed basically when I put finals in Icelander, and it was like such a fun discovery process. And I remember leading into US Nats that year, I did some testing. I'm like, I think this is good, but I don't feel super good about it. I still need to figure out some things and stuff. And then I went away for a week because it was my birthday weekend, and that's what I do for my birthday is I have a camp. I have a bunch of friends in town that stay at my place. And then I went to nationals, and I'm like, well, I no more time to test. I hope it's good. And it was good, though. I was definitely figuring some things out during the early rounds.
Yeah, that's fair.
What's your favorite card?
So my favorite card, I don't know if I really have an individual favorite card,
Okay.
because it might, I guess, like if we're just gonna go like right now, I don't know if I can answer for all time, but right now my favorite card is Scar for a Scar. And like that's also a little bit of a mea culpa, because like I was like, I'm not playing Scar for a Scar. I'm gonna be unique and different in Icelander. Michael Hamilton doesn't know. I'm gonna play Red Aether Hail because you can use Tunic and come in for 4 Arcane, and it's better than stupid old Scar for Scar because it blocks 3. And now I'm just like, Scar for Scar is so good, dude. Like it's just like 0 for 4 go again when like you're racing or need to catch up. It's just like, it's just so clean. It's just like, here's a 0 for 4. Here's 4 damage. Let's catch up a little bit. Let's just have a nice fair card. Let's just like threatening some damage, give and go again, letting me go a little wide, let me pressure some Enigma auras or Ward auras, or like just like I said, race a little bit better, or just It's just like so. It's just like such an elegant, clean, perfectly balanced card. It feels like because it blocks 2. Like I think like if it blocked 3, it'd be way too good. I think if it attacked for 3, it'd be way too bad. Like it's just like pretty close to like just like the embodiment of just like what Flesh and Blood is. It's like this back and forth game of like battling and duking it out.
Yeah, it's kind of nice that it has a little bit of a comeback mechanic because it's something that's like kind of hard to put in games without it being problematic. But Scar is just like a nice little comeback mechanic. If you're behind in life, it has go again. If you're ahead in life, it's not
Still
great.
just a 0 for 4. Like you
Yeah.
just block with your cards. Send you block 3 card or two or 3 cards. You send your 0 for 4 your arsenal, and it's still like fine. Like you know.
Yeah, it's just not a constructed power level card without like the fact that it has that comeback mechanic
Sure, yeah,
is what makes it a constructed power level card.
100%, yeah.
So
But
yeah, it's a cool card.
so that's also like my mea culpa. I'm sorry, Scar, for a Scar. I betrayed you, but I'm making it up to you now, baby.
What is a mea culpa? What does that mean?
Like I am like coming clean, I believe is like the way I like it's like it's Latin. Mea culpa, acknowledgement of one's fault or error. Coming yeah. See. Boom. Okay.
Yes, okay, that makes sense.
Whose fault was that? Mea culpa, Frank said, is the example that I just Googled up. I was like, it was one of those things where it's like, I was like 90% sure of what it meant, but it was one of those things where I'm on a podcast and I don't just want to confidently say what it is. And people are like, that's not what mea culpa means. Roger's a freaking idiot. And I'm like, but so you know what? I'm showing good practices. If you're 90% sure, still fact check yourself.
Now, if you just will incorporate that into our day-to-day interactions, it'll be great.
Well, there, I know what I'm telling you is intentionally false. Like I'm aware. Like if I was trolling you, I'd have been like, mea culpa means like party time. Like you're celebrating, and you'd be like, oh, mea culpa. The next time you go to a party or something like that. That's like something I would do offline if I'm like trolling you, you know. But like if I'm being recorded and like other people could see and like know things about me, then like I gotta make sure I'm right, you know. I can't troll the whole world
so I just
at the same time.
I need to record all of our interactions. Is what I'm hearing to save myself from
it wouldn't hurt. I'm sure it'd be entertaining. We have good times. I'd probably have to censor myself a little bit more. But I've reined myself in a lot over the past couple of years to begin with, so I feel like I'm a pretty okay now.
That's fair.
Okay. You know what? This isn't on the list, but I'm adding it in. What's your least favorite Flesh and Blood card? What's the card you're just like, I hate this card? And you don't want to put in your deck ever. If you want, I'll go first.
Okay, go for it.
I hate Sonata Arcanix. I hate Sonata Arcanix with a fiery passion. Dude, the calling in Indianapolis when I played freaking Scaletta Visceri, and I was like skeleting for like 8, and I was just like flipping 8 cards off the top of my deck, and it was like 8 non-attack actions, and I was just like, what is happening? Like, how is this possible? Of like just like in the realm of statistics, like of course it's possible and it happened, but like it just tilted me for forever, and like to the point where I think I just have PTSD with Visceri now at this point. Like I fundamentally kind of like the hero and Runechance and making the Runeblade cards are like pretty fun and going wide, and I think his lines are really interesting. But every time I look at the card Sonata Arcanix, I'm just like, oh no, I'm just gonna cast this card. It's not gonna do anything. Why do I have this card in my deck? So I just can't handle Sonata Arcanix as a person anymore, I feel like.
Yeah, I think I'm numb from the variants after playing so much KO. Just once you discard a Blood Rush Bell or roll 1 on your Scabskin, there's like nothing else. Like it's hard to top that.
That's fair. I was never a KO gamer.
Yeah, so missing on Sonata is nothing compared to rolling a 1 on Scabskin Leathers with 3 cards in hand.
Yeah, is Scabskin's your least favorite card then? I know it's a lot of people's least favorite card. It's definitely a very contentious card.
I think Scabskins is not my least favorite card. I guess it's hard. I don't really know if I have a least favorite card. I'm like, Remembrance is a card that I think a lot of people think are good, but I'll probably never register it into my deck for
I was
tournaments.
thinking you
But
might go with Remembrance, but yeah.
I wouldn't say I like really hate it. Like,
you just think it's silly.
yeah, I think the cards that I dislike the most are like Codex of Frailty and Warmonger's Diplomacy. Just cards that like, never mind, I figured it out. It's Ancestral Harmony.
Okay, yeah, that's a good answer.
Ancestral Harmony is my most hated card, but
Yeah.
that's mostly when they printed it. I'm like, dang, Katsu really needed a good blue because Katsu sucks when you draw but too many blues. And I'm like, okay, this card will bump Katsu up quite a bit, and that's probably okay because Katsu sucks. And then Zen came out, and I was really unhappy. I'm just like, why does Ancestral Harmony exist? So I think that's actually my number one.
And it's a high variance card.
Yeah, it's high variance, high power. You probably should include it in any ninja deck that's playing a reasonable amount of combo cards, especially if your ninja deck specifically cares about playing blue cards.
Yeah, because like you can build Runeblade decks without Sonata Arcanics. Like there's been a lot of Runeblade deck builds that just don't care about Sonata Arcanics. Like it's still powerful and it's included in a lot of decks, but like Vincent, I know, is a hero that doesn't run Sonata Arcanics. Like there's still like some Runeblade archetypes that just don't care about it. Yeah, but there's no reason not put Ancestral Harmony in your ninja deck.
I think while we were talking about Pablo earlier, I believe his top 8 Leal deck was Viserai with 0 copies of Sonata Arcanics. I could be wrong. I didn't fact check myself, but I'm pretty sure that's true.
Sure.
So yeah, you don't have to play it. It's just
okay. Well, this one's going to be a snooze.
A snooze.
Yeah. What's your favorite Flesh and Blood achievement, Michael? Is it winning Worlds? You could say yes. I'm trolling you. It's fine.
I'm pretty sure it is. Now I'm trying to think if there's anything that like.
You can go with winning Worlds. I'm trolling. It's fine.
Worlds. Lock it in.
Okay.
What about? Hit me. What is yours?
Mine's becoming such a part of a wonderful community and having a podcast that helps people and really just making it all about other people, not my own individual accomplishments. That's my favorite achievement. My favorite achievement is everybody else's achievements because it's not about me, Michael.
Okay. That's very, very uncharacteristically humble of you. In fact, it feels like you might. It's so uncharacteristic. It seems like you might be like saying this in what is a bragging fashion.
Braggadocious.
That cannot be a real word.
Braggadocious is 100% a real word.
Braggadocious. Braggadocious. Boastful or arrogant. It is a word, but boastful is what I was trying to. Was the word I was thinking of.
I'm in law school. Do you think my diction isn't at top notch?
I just thought you were going to get me to start saying braggadocious and laugh about it.
It's not like you're laying pipe over there. It's fine. Do I have to cut that?
I don't care. You can cut it if you want.
We'll see. We'll see how I feel.
That is a reference that maybe sub 5 of our listeners will understand.
Yeah.
Probably more than 0 though.
Yeah. No, I like, so if I dial down the facetiousness,
facetious.
Now I'm using fancy words just for the sake of it, but not pronouncing them correctly. Facetiousness. There we go. Sarcasm a little bit. So I think it was Tampa. This guy came up to me and he was like, "Hey, I really like your content," and I was engaging with them as anybody who, wants to engage and say, "Hey, like if anybody ever wants to talk or meet and say they like your content, I'm always happy to hear them out." And he says, "Yeah, I've been making my own stuff. I don't know if you've seen it at all. It's a Blackout Party. So I've been making like those living legend documentaries, and they're so good, dude. Like the documentaries that he has made like for like the Living Legend of Chain, since he was the first Living Legend hero, and then he did Starvo, and then the Prism one just came out, and um, what he does is he kind of goes like back in time for like the community's reactions to like what was going on at the time when heroes were dominating or doing well in a meta or not doing well in a meta. So like there's like Arsenal Pass clips, and there's like Red Zone Rogue or DM Armada. But in this last one, like we started popping up a little bit more because we were making content around the time like Prison was LLing, and we were talking about like the Spectrum mechanic and things like that. And like it made me feel oddly validated in a way. Like we really are like a part of this game's like history, like this like cool lore that's built up around the like the community, the game, these heroes. And it made me feel really good. So that's probably my favorite achievement, is coming back, making this podcast again, making content that people like and enjoy. So yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. What was that video series called?
I'll send it to you. Blackout
Okay.
Party, I believe.
Blackout Party.
And
I will have to check it
and
out.
I don't know. It's a pretty hard to remember name. But I believe it was Mike. I don't know if you've ever met anybody named Mike before, so it's a pretty unique name. And then I was listening to the Brian Gottlieb interview afterwards. But then I came home. I didn't have time for both. So I get to listen to the rest of the Brian Gottlieb. Brian Gottlieb gets to regale me as I drive to my work tomorrow.
Cool.
Yeah, Blackout Party. Yeah. Boom. All right, yeah.
That is really cool, because like we've been doing this podcast for more than 2 years now. We said episode 116 is what we're on right now, which is it's a lot of episodes, and we have talked about a lot of Fab stuff in different periods of Fab's history, or we've made content during different periods of Fab's history that is out there forever, I guess. Probably forever until the internet blows up.
Yeah, like we were talking about like Prism and like her metagame placement, and like why people didn't like having to sideboard very specific cards to have to deal with Spectra Auras and the poppers. So it's just like there was just so much of people's sideboard that was dedicated to Prism for so long that like people really got sick of like having those slots constantly be taxed like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, cool stuff. Let's ready to move on to the next question.
I'm ready to go watch a Blackout Party video, but what's the next question?
People have to finish watching this one. Finish watching this video and then go watch. Leave. Yeah, and then go watch all of his. They're very good. Favorite set. This one's easy. I think it's this set still hasn't changed for me.
Okay, you go first. I have to think about mine. Okay.
Yeah, like it's the first set we got really heavily into. It has like some of the craziest power level cards of all time in it. It has like really sweet hero designs. I still love the element, like those elemental designs. Like Rosetta, I get why they had to like tone it down a little bit and why they're not the dual elements in the set. And I think it's like a cleaner, much more balanced way of and I think it's like a cleaner, much more balanced way of doing the elemental set as a whole. But just something about it being our like introductory, learning the game, really delving into it, going and playing that first limited calling with Tales of Aria, seeing you win that calling in Orlando with Oldheim, like the whole craziness that was Briar for so long, like. And just like, oh man, did I move it? I cleaned up around my desk. I don't have my foil Heaven's Claw around me.
It's a classic.
Oh no. I cleaned up my foil Heaven's Claw. I'll have to dig it out again. It's my favorite prop. But foil Heaven's Claw, man, like come on.
Mm-hmm. I am also very fond of Tales of Aria. I'm not sure if it's my favorite. It definitely was not my favorite limited format. I think that the limited formats have gotten a lot better since then. Though I did really think the triangle draft shape, the three heroes, it was first set with three heroes, then it had like all the overlap with
Yeah.
the Earth heroes overlapped. Like there were two Earth heroes, two Lightning heroes, two Ice heroes, and each hero was like a unique combination of two elements. And I thought that was really cool. Though Rosetta, I really like the shape of this limited format where
It's very square like.
yeah, and each hero on their corner, like they share a side with two other heroes. It's just like really cool how like you can take lightning cards and you're like, well, I'm a Cilia or Aurora, and then you figure out which lane is more open between Wizard and Runeblade a lot of the time. And I really do like the shape of this for draft. I think that sealed someday Earth will not be the best in sealed, but it was in Tales of Aria and it still is in Rosetta. So we'll see. Maybe the next Aria set Earth will not dominate sealed.
Guess we'll have to see.
But I think my favorite set might actually be Welcome to Wraith. I think that the limited format of that set, just like we played a lot of Welcome to Wraith sealed, probably as much as we played Tales of Aria.
Probably more at this point. Because like I'll
Sure,
still
sure.
go
At this
back and be
point,
like, "You want to play some Welcome to Wraith?" Like I could go over some Welcome to Wraith right now. I don't know if
yeah,
I've ever been like, "Let's go play some Briar Mirrors and Tales of Aria." See,
yeah. We did a lot prepping for Cincinnati. I
Mhm.
feel like we did a ton of sealed pools before that event, but we also played a lot of not Briar games because we were like, maybe this is a Lexi pool. Can this be a Lexi pool? Probably should have just been a Briar pool, but we wanted to see. But Welcome to Wraith, it holds up really well. I think playing Welcome to Wraith sealed still very, very enjoyable. We, like you said, we can go back and play it. We actually did it. We went back and played it like a week or two ago, 3 weeks ago.
I don't know. Time flies.
Yeah,
Recently,
recently, less than a month ago, because it was post camp, and it was a lot of fun. Did we actually did team sealed. We built 3 decks each with 30 cards and battled them, and it was a good time.
for sure.
I think that the fact that the limited format's so good on it, and it was like what kind of sold me on Flesh and Blood after playing the Monarch Blitz decks as our introduction to the game. I'm like, okay, I don't know about this. And then we did some Welcome to Race Sealed. I'm like, okay, I'm a believer. I want to play more. I'm ready for the Tales of Aria to come out because it came out like we started learning the game shortly before Tales of Aria came out, and then we switched to TOA Sealed once that came out. But yeah, Vulcan Wraith, I think, is probably my favorite set.
Sure. Do you want to do least favorite set, or do you not want to talk bad about sets?
We could talk bad about sets. It's for me, it's definitely one of the undraftable sets. I think like you should be able to play limited with your packs.
Mine's definitely an undraftable set.
Is it Dust Till Dawn?
It's Dust Till Dawn. Dust Till Dawn still hurts me emotionally to this day. Like, it's just sad. Like, I get that they were pulling punches, and the Light and Shadow heroes were, very scary things. Well, the Shadow Runeblade and Light Illusionist were very scary class and talent combinations that they were tiptoeing around. But the fact that they still pulled their punches so much with the less, like the more underpowered heroes from the set, and Bolton and Levia, and those heroes have still continued to kind of languish. Like, they've gotten some solid like power ups here and there, but like in my mind, Dust Till Dawn was supposed to be like a way to really make those heroes tier 1, like legitimate, viable, really powerful decks. Like they were memed. Like Levia was, when we first started to play, was like the joke hero. It was like Levia and Azalea, and post Outsiders, Azalea was no longer a joke. She's still like a real deck that does like really powerful things. And Levia has still continued to struggle. Like it's and like we keep putting it high in our power levels, and like the numbers are there, but from what I understand, like after watching like some Mansant content and like talking to people who really know Levia well, it still just has huge consistency issues, and that's kind of to be expected when like you still have like the random banish element being such a central core to the theme of the deck. And if you ever stumble, like it's nice that the demi hero kind of bails you out, but it's still is not great to have a bunch of blood deck cards in your banner zone, no matter what hero or demi hero you are at any given time. So, yeah.
Yeah, I do think the Demi Hero helped a lot with the consistency. It didn't solve it, but it does help. And then like its other recent powerful card. I know there was talk of Call of the Grave, but that card's not good. I'm a hater.
Yeah.
But the other card that I think is actually good, the Shadow Realm Horror, it's like even higher variance because it's like a Dread Screamer that you have to hit twice to get your go again. And when you
And
hit
if you
three
hit three
times,
times, yeah.
it goes crazy. And if
Yeah.
you hit twice, you have to hit twice to get go again, and then once is just the +1. So I think that Shadow Realm Horror is a very, very strong card, and Leviah has a lot of very, very strong cards, but it is not a hero that a lot of the more competitive players are drawn to because it's like it's like high variance. And I remember there was like a meme that KO was like a low variance brute, but KO is not low variance. KO is lower variance than Leviah, but still, brutes are high variance, and Leviah is like extra on top of that with her random blood debt stuff. And when you miss, you can just like take 10 damage to your own thing. And her cards are really powerful, like you said. I think that power level wise, she is fine, but consistency is, well, I shouldn't say fine. I think she's quite good power level wise, but consistency is a pretty big issue for her. And you will lose some games just because your deck doesn't do what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. And maybe that's also why Bolton's not my favorite hero anymore, is because he has continued to like languish so much in all of the sets, in like even like his own armory deck, like really didn't do anything for like some of the equipment's cool, but the still fundamental game plan of like the charge mechanic be so horribly inefficient turn over turn until you get to those payoffs. It's just like the juice just isn't worth the squeeze. Like I wish it was. It's cool. I like it. I think it's a very fun, flavorful hero, and maybe one day they'll put it like they'll like it'll get the cards it needs, but that day is not today. And especially when Dust Till Dawn was around, Bolton was by far my favorite hero. Like the part that Misfell hadn't came out, like I didn't knew like all that well or at all because he didn't exist yet. And Icelander was like a cool hero that I liked, and it kind of filled some of that like control elements, but still like something about Bolton still like really spoke to me for like the longest time, because he was like this cool hero that can, but I felt like could kind of like do it all. He was like, he could be an aggro deck, he could be a combo deck, he could be a fatigue deck. Like the fact that he could do like all of the things, like the jack of all trade decks, like I actually think those are really interesting in Flesh and Blood. And it's also kind of why I liked Icelander a lot, because she played in that similar style where sometimes she was a controlling, like slow you down tempo deck, and sometimes she had to play to like combo outs because people like against like the fatigue style decks with setting up the frost hexes and stuff. So yeah.
Frost Hex combo, good times.
Did you see the new channel flow card or whatever?
Yeah, it's like
That'll be sweet for Icelander, maybe.
I don't think it does anything for Icelander because it triggers at the start of the turn, so the frostbites won't do damage if she gives it to you on.
Wait, how's the card work? Maybe I misread it.
It says at the start of your turn, you take 1 damage you deal 1 damage to them for each frostbite they have or something.
Can you respond to the trigger?
I don't know if I guess if it's start of action phase you can, but if it's start of turn you cannot.
At the start of each hero's turn.
Yeah, they worded it very specifically to not be good for Icelander, which is
sad.
fine. She's just like, we're just waiting for the new Ice Wizard. At some point, we'll get another Ice Wizard, hopefully.
Yeah, it's still a blue ice block 3, so like it's something.
Yeah, it'll be good for Starvo and for Jarl.
Yeah, you can still might be able to set it up too, because like I guess if like you do the Ice Eternal on your turn, give them the frostbites, deal the arcane damage, strip their hand, then they take the arcane damage on the start of their turn, and then they take the arcane damage at the end of their turn from the frost hexes. Like that's still a lot, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's probably not good enough still, especially in Living Legend, but like it was just a cool thing that I thought about. I guess.
Yeah, I don't think it's a meaningful card for Living Legend Icelander, and we won't know about class constructed Ice Heroes until we get them. Jarl, I expect to play it, but mostly because I expect he will want Ice block 3s and also does one by itself in Jarl, because assuming they have an open equipment slot, it just gives him a Frostbite from his hero power.
Yeah, and you pitch an ice card on your turn, but yeah.
Oh, true. It goes away if you don't pitch an ice card.
Mm-hmm.
But
okay. Let's see here. We're wrapping up. We're barreling towards the end of the questions.
My least favorite set is I think Everfest.
That's a solid
being very
answer.
Disappointed because Tales of Aria was so good, and we're like, okay, another new set. What's going to be in it? And
the carnival slot.
I feel like Everfest just kind of like didn't do it for me. I was not super happy with much in it.
Yeah, the items exist. Starvo exists.
Sure do.
The blue Spectra auras
Gloom Veil and
exist.
Rebel and Runeblood.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Blue auras.
It was definitely a set of all time.
I think Icelander came out in
Everfest. Technically, yeah. But, Kraken's Aether Vein technically came out in that set.
But Icelander Stormbind did not come out, and that is my favorite hero. Not boring old Blitz Icelander. All right, next question. What's up?
Favorite memory as the last question, but I feel like this kind of ties into achievement for us. I can see how for the maybe it's not. Maybe I'm being too goal oriented, that achievements aren't always memories and memories aren't always achievements. But do you have a favorite memory in general?
Honestly, I wouldn't say it's like one specific memory or one specific moment, but there was some point where the Wolfpack started feeling like home, feeling like a family, not just like a testing team. And like those times when everyone was getting closer and stuff with when Zach was still around running everything. And really, I think he did a great job at bringing everyone together. I miss his brother, Tim. We don't talk about Tim as much as Zach, but Tim I think Tim did a great job at making it feel really family.
Both buns are.
Yeah, the buns are good guys.
Yeah.
So I think just like going to tournaments with a big group and Zach and Tim and other people, Ian, Matt, and I really like those guys.
Yeah, for sure. I'll dial it back a little back in time, and my favorite memory was just like the first 2 months of us learning how to play Flesh and Blood back in like that August, September, October area of like being so enraptured by the game, like sitting down with those blitz decks with like our first games and being like, yeah, I don't know, this Levi here seems weird, but then like looking at Gene and being like, this guy's broken, like of course this guy's broken. Like we just immediately do. Like I'll never forget, like just immediately looking at Gene and being like, yeah.
It wasn't when I first read him, I thought he sucked. And then like the first time you banished a card with Blood that said you could play it from your banishment, because I think you were playing Chain.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what? This guy's broken.
You just draw extra cards? Excuse me?
Yeah.
Like I'll never forget that. Like that was sick. And like the first
first Fable
of Corsham, yeah. You couldn't hold it. You were like, oh, don't, I can't. Just going to that calling in Cincinnati and being like the first feature drafter of that because I had a good record at the time. That was a good, and having Rob Seigel be like, this guy doesn't know how to draft. All his draft picks are I wouldn't take this here. Being so hyped and being like, wait a second, there's like $100 flight to Orlando and I could like leave like.
Yeah, after Cincinnati, when I'm like, maybe I want to go to another tournament. Cincinnati was fun. I got this cool Storm Striders card, this shiny Storm Striders, and then I look up flights to Orlando, and they're really, really cheap. And I'm like, message you like Monday or Tuesday before the tournament. I'm like, Roger, Roger, what if we go to this calling in Orlando?
Yeah, but my cousin was getting married, so I had to go to his wedding on Friday, leave from Cleveland, and then my wife had to drive home by herself. And the only reason why I did that is because we knew we were expecting, and I was like, okay, after this, no traveling anymore. Like, this is my last big travel until the baby comes. And then I didn't really travel again until Lil, right?
Yeah, because your Austin was born
The
the
weekend
weekend
of
of
the first.
PT1.
Yeah, that's the reason why I didn't
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Which is a qualified excuse to not go to Pro Tours now. James White missed Amsterdam because of the birth of his child. So, like,
Wait, I also missed Amsterdam because of the birth of James White's child. That's my excuse.
you were just so enthralled to the idea of there being more little whites in the world. Maybe that doesn't say that. Anyways, yeah, those are just like all that. Those for those first months were just like so ingrained in my psyche at this point of just being like so excited to like learn and get in, especially like with the state of Magic being what it was over the past few years and still what it continues to be to this day to a large extent.
Yeah, it was definitely like Magic was going downhill, and then COVID happened, and it just like died, and then going back to a calling level tournament in Cincinnati. Oh, it was so cool. You're right. That is a very good memory.
Yeah. Okay, we did it. We got through all of the Flesh and Blood questions. I guess they were actually technically supposed to be 5 questions, so adding extras invalidates the 5 that were there. But you know what? That's just that's what you get on our podcast. You get more bang for your buck. If you got 5 years, you get more questions, more than 5.
Oh, 5 questions for 5 years.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah,
We had like 8 or something because we
yeah.
kept
Because
adding
like
worse, and
yeah,
then
because
you
I
had the
kept
bonus
flipping.
question.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna go least favorite memory because there were some bad memories that we're not gonna get into. There was a
What's
non-zero amount of drama that we had experienced over the past few years with other
yeah,
people.
yeah. Now
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of what my least favorite memory of Flesh and Blood is.
I know what my least favorite. I'll have to tell you after the podcast.
All right. I think mine's just like I think
Yeah,
mine is
you'll have to
honestly
tell me after the podcast.
okay.
We'll talk to each other off air for the
It
first
led
time.
it led to me not going to Amsterdam, and we'll leave it at that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think I know what you're gonna say. Okay. Any positive things you want to end on this podcast?
Dude, 5 years, sick game, banned all the books. Game's good.
Got
I think the CC format's very good.
new Elemental Guardian, dual talent Guardian guy coming out soon.
Yeah, I'm ready for Jarl to come out. Ready
Me too.
for High Octane to get banned. And yeah. Game's cool. I like it.
Here's to at least another 5 years.
Hopefully more than that. I think
Yeah.
it's on track for many more than 5 years.
Yeah.
I also
true.
have a lot of shiny cardboard that I hope the game does well.
All becomes. Oh, please don't all go to 0. I have more. Like all those cabinets, that little tote you can kind of see behind me too. That's filled with sorted cards now from just like I've been hard at work sorted. Like I said, I put a bunch of stuff away. Inside those cabinets is more Flesh and Blood cases and boxes. There's also like other card games. I think my Alpha Sorcery boxes are in there. I think that's it though. It's just Flesh and Blood and Sorcery at this point because I gave away all the other card games at this point. Cards take up a lot of space.
They do. I was thinking about going through my closets and getting rid of a lot of bulk I have because I just have bulk piled up in my closets, and I'm like, why do I have this?
Yeah.
What am I gonna do with bulk?
My kind of plan is like maybe Austin will like it one day. Like maybe he'll like because like I remember being like 10, 11, like a younger like kid coming into like adolescence, and like I would just like sit and like look and just read like flavor text and look at the art on like magic cards for like hours. Like if there was just like a stack of magic cards, like I would literally just sit there and just look at them and be like, wow, this is a Sarah angel. Look at that angel. That's so
yeah, but
cool.
now the internet exists. So
Yeah. To be fair, the internet existed in the year 2000, but not good internet. Not so much in the Bodee household at that point.
mm-hmm. Got the dial up.
Yeah.
Try to load an image and it goes like a little bar, another bar, another little bar.
Yeah, I'll have to tell you some off-air stories about some not safe for work images that had to happen for 13-year-old Roger and mom unexpectedly.
Right, we should end the podcast there. Well, remember everybody, when you're talking about very safe for work images loading on your dial, always remember, mind your manners. We'll see you next time. Bye.